Hello traders, this is Rich from tradesight. This is a look at our market-leading ETFs via our proprietary scans for the coming session. The majors here today didn't really show any signals. We did have a positive day. As you can see, we closed above the open in all the majors across the board, so definitely a positive day. And we also closed above the VWAP in all the majors, but we didn't generate any signals. So let's move on to the individual domestic sectors and see what that has to tell us. The individual sectors, even outnumbering the majors, not showing too much. A little bit biased to the buy side, but perhaps showing a little fatigue here. Market's really getting up into some areas where we're going to start finding some resistance. And I think maybe the signals are telling us that the market's starting to get a little bit tepid at these levels. IBB had some really good volume today, but there's no signal. Nice close, decently above the open. Had a buy side signal in the XLV and also the PPH. So one in the XLI as well. XLP has an RPS to the downside. No other volume bumps besides the IBB in the major domestic sectors. Moving on to the commodities. Commodities, no real bias here. A couple of contra sells. One in GLD, closing below the open, and also one in DVC. We've got one in the UNG, which is showing us an upside CPS. Bonds very strong again. Really a pretty good close above the open here. 0.5% above the open for the TLT is a pretty strong showing. Moving on to the foreign names, not too much there. The FXI and the EWG both showed an upside signal. FXI, not a lot of volume to go with it, but definitely a very strong day. Just a little bit less than 1% above the open. EWG, much better volume, but a little less range covered. Only 0.5% above the open, but definitely one to keep in mind for next week. RSX, bump up on volume, 0.5% above the open, but no signal to go with it. Moving on to the specials, we call them the specials. There are leveraged ETFs. Volume bump in the UYG. We also had one in the QLD and one in the TWM, none of which unfortunately had signals. And as far as the open-close deviations, nothing really sticking out here. TNA was 1.3% above the open, which is decent, but not eye-popping for a triple leveraged ETF. FXP had an upside RPS signal, but that was on very, very light volume. All right, so looking at the individual counts, we're starting to get really deep into a lot of counts here. We've got a fair amount of 13s out there in both the Comer and the aggressive seeker. The one thing we don't have yet are a lot of countdowns that have completed yet in the seeker standard setting. In the spiders, we're 13 bars up in the Comer, and also 13 bars up in the aggressive seeker. 12 bars up in the Qs for the aggressive seeker. Also, the MDY is 12 bars up. The KRE, which is the regional banks, 11 bars up on the Comer, 13 bars up on the standard on the aggressive seeker. Also seeing some indication here in the XLP with 13 up in the Comer, 13 up in the aggressive seeker. The XRT is getting really close, 13 up in the aggressive, 10 up in the standard seeker, and 13 bars up in the Comer. XLY, similar condition. So there's a lot of very, very deep counts here. So keep an eye on these charts this week. We could be topping out ahead of Thanksgiving here for the year. So let's just see how these counts work out. This could be a pretty important week with the lack of sellers willing to step into the market, but perhaps we'll see them a little bit more after the Thanksgiving holiday. We've got a very, very short week. It's essentially 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday's going to be the day before Thanksgiving, which will be kind of a quasi half session. It's a full day of trading, but it's going to be real quiet. And then obviously on Friday, on Thursday we're closed, and then Friday's just going to be just a complete wash. All right, folks. As always, thanks for listening. Good luck next week, and trade smart. This has been Rich for tradesight.